Hi, welcome. My name is Phyllis King, and this is video one. It's day one. It's the kickoff of um, the Common Sense Psychic on YouTube Live. I've been doing radio for over 15 years, and it's always been something I love, and I still love, and I'm sure I'll still do that in some form. But things are changing, and not just technology, but the energy on the planet. And I wanted something, a different challenge. I wanted to communicate differently with folks. And when you interact with people in a moving way, I don't know, it just has a different feel to it. So this is episode one. And so because of that, for any supporters who have been with me for a time, some of the stuff you hear at the beginning of the process here might be a duplication of what you already know about me, but I recognize that people who don't know me will fall on this channel, and I want to give a little bit of backstory so you understand who I am and how I came to be in this role. Before I get into that, I want to let you know that during the show today, I call it a show, but it's a sharing. I am going to give away a 30-minute free reading, and I'm also going to give away 2 books. I'm an author, and one of my books, The Energy of Abundance, has been published and republished by 2 outlets. I'm going to give that away as well. I see people starting in the comments. Fantastic. I will be responding shortly. And I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. It is the kickoff day. So I'm going to do also, I'm doing a September forecast. I don't want to get too far away from that. A little bit of backstory. I'm called the Common Sense Psychic. Why? I love the practical and I love the spiritual. I love it when they go together. I like it when spirituality and tangible outcomes come together. That's just always been what I love. That's how I am in life. I like things to work. That's how I got the name. There's a whole story to that that I won't share today. But how I knew I was psychic and how I got into the profession is a little bit more complex. I wasn't a little girl said to my parents, "Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a psychic." That really wasn't anywhere in my mind. Matter of fact, I always assumed I'd be a professional musician because I was born into a family of musicians. My father was a musician, et cetera, et cetera. Anyhow, I started having experiences with the intangible becoming tangible around the age of 5. That's my earliest recollection. I could be in my room, and usually in the evening hours, but I would notice formless shapes zip, 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 zipping around my room. And I know some of my psychic friends have had similar experiences in childhood, but for me, it was quite scary, actually. I remember I used to hide under covers and things like that. Oh, I see my collar's turned down. So I would hide under my covers, and they never hurt me or did anything to me, but it was a little bit unnerving. Well, fast forward into my elementary school years, I started having spontaneous experiences with out-of-body experience and remote viewing, meaning I could be in one place, someone else or a group of people could be in another place, and I could know the conversation. I could pre-know what was going on. And so if I went and connected with those people, it was very deja vu. I knew what they were going to talk about. I knew what the food would be. That didn't bother me, but it really started to, in my awareness, I started to recognize the how it's past, present, future is all in the same moment. And I don't know, I didn't think in that language, but I could see it all together at the same time. That's the best way I could describe it. Fast forward into my teenage years, I began to have experiences with precognition, mostly through dreams, meaning I'd go to sleep, I'd have a dream, I'd wake up within 24 to 48 hours. That thing that I dreamed about, that experience would come to pass. Often it was something like a death or an accident, but it was other things, even for myself. I knew that I would be somewhere doing a certain activity within 24 hours. That again didn't bother me or scare me and didn't really even capture my attention, but it gave me again this sense of past, present, future being in the same place at the same time. And it's kind of an awareness. It's a knowing. And it's not something that stayed with me 24/7, but it was like, all these pieces kind of simultaneous. But it wasn't until I was 19 that things really took a turn for me. A friend of mine who was in my circle of friends. We weren't really even close friends. There's a backstory to this, but I won't go into it at this particular moment. He passed away in a car accident. And about 3 months after he passed, he showed up in my house looking like a person. He looked better than he'd ever looked while he had a body. And it was terrifying, quite frankly. I was scared. It was really scary. I couldn't really wait for it to stop. However, once the terror of the moment sort of subsided, my energy was tweaked in a way that suddenly, my awareness went from this to this, that suddenly I knew that life didn't end with the body. And I knew that there was something going on with me that I needed to understand. And bear in mind, I'd come up from a very religious background. I went to church every Sunday. My parents were involved in church. And until I was 18, every week, that's what we did, right? So I needed to press forward. I had a voracious appetite to understand, what is this? I still wasn't thinking, I'm going to be a psychic someday. It was more like, what is this? And how do I get a handle on it? I don't want that to happen anymore. That was too much. So I proceeded on my path, which at that time was still music. I was a singer back in the day and going about with my groups and stuff. But I was simultaneously doing every workshop, group, putting my hands on every book I could find to help me understand out-of-body experience, to help me understand ghosts, reincarnation, you name it. I was trying to fill in the gaps to understand what was happening with me. And then in my early 20s, I passed by a metaphysical bookstore. I went in, I got myself a deck of tarot cards. I learned those really in about 48 hours. And I started doing readings for people via the tarot. And in fairly short order, I began to understand when I was connecting to a chain of information as opposed to reflecting upon a meaning that a card is given based upon the deck you purchase. And I began to recognize that that was not a game. I think the memory was I was reading for a young man in San Francisco, and I'm looking at this card. I think it was the Page of Wands or something. And I said, I'm seeing you hiding under a table in the kitchen. And he's like, oh my God. And there was a whole story about him hiding and being terrorized by a certain person. And I'm like flipping through the book. This isn't in the tarot book, hiding under the table in the kitchen. So I began to understand that I was tuning into energy. I was tuning into information. And so that was sort of the beginning of understanding. I knew how to connect to a chain of energy. Fast forward, I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute for 4 years, which was fantastic. I got to be with like-minded folks. So being psychic was normal. There was nothing abnormal about being psychic. It was just what you did. And I really learned how to be in my skin and a lot of protection techniques and different things. It put a frame around the experiences I was having and kind of how to channel it. And by the time I graduated there, I was there 4 years, I never used cards again to read. I found I'm not against any tool, but I like it to be vast, wide open so I can pull from anywhere. For me, tarot and other tools, if you're not tuning in, they can also force you into a box, and that's how I felt anyhow. So I did other jobs and things along the way. I was still involved in music for quite some time. But there just came a point when I had 2 lives. I had a professional life and I had my psychic life. And I just couldn't stand it. After a certain time, I really needed to press forward and be me in one person. I didn't want a dual life. And so my last official job was in 2006, I believe. I was an executive director for a nonprofit in the city of San Leandro. And I did great work there, and I loved the work, which was supporting that community. But I still needed to just do me and talk about spirituality, because all along the way, I had this other existence of doing readings for people and spiritual study, and trying to make sense of life in a spiritual view. So that's the short version. There's a much longer story, which is outlined in my second book, The Heart of the Matter, if anyone's ever interested. So for those of you who are new to me, that is the short version. I have since then been doing professional readings solely. I developed into an intuitive life coach because so many times when I'm reading a blueprint, and that's what I look at first and foremost in someone's energy, because we stack events and experiences we want to have before we get here. And there's all kinds of possibilities. And I saw that so many people miss opportunities. They miss possibilities because of fear, because of self-doubt, because of lack of deserving. And so my reading started to morph into, well, why aren't you kind of doing this thing? Because you'd be able to grab that pot of gold over there. And so I really began the coaching process, ultimately developing a coaching program and other programs. And I can't imagine doing anything else at this point. And as we are now in this new reality, and when I say new reality, this year, 2020, we're moving from, I don't know how many of you are into astrology, but we've moved from the Piscean age and we're going into the Aquarian age, which is another 60-year cycle, which really is about humanitarianism. It's about allowing that principle to dominate the planet and how we interact with each other. And so when you see things like Black Lives Matter, and when you see all these issues with conflict, it's really forcing us to, how can we care about each other? How can we unify? How can we come together? And so even though there's extraordinary divisiveness, especially in the United States, it's a teaching tool. It's like, how do we overcome that to understand that we are one? That we're not separate. It doesn't matter your ideological belief system, but how do we get to understand that we're one? That there's not a left, there's not a right, there's just us. And how do we be together? So this is an extraordinary time. And so as I've gone through 2020, I found it to be an amazing year. I don't think I've ever had in recent memory a better year. Why? Because I already have relationship to source, and that is my go-to information pattern. I don't look at the external reality to tell me how I'm doing or what's right or what's wrong. I look to it as a symptom of a creative process. So that's also part of the birth of this YouTube channel, because I think people, it's such an enormous transition. We have to understand that the old rules, the old patterns, the old structures are falling away. They will not work. And the more you try to go back to that pattern, the less success you're going to have. That the way is through pioneering, the way is through connecting to intangible community and listening to higher wisdom, that is going to get you the big bang for your buck. So that is my message. That's my ongoing message. Any of you who might be on my newsletter, that's what we'll be doing, talking about how you develop those skill sets. If you don't have them, how you overcome the fear, how you're able to follow higher wisdom in those moments when life is hard, because life is hard. It really is. It's not for wimps, no doubt about it. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking momentarily so I can say hi to some folks in the chat. Well, hello. Stephen, Monique, Angie, Debbie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Okay, so let's move into talking about the September forecast. And if anybody has a personal question, by the way, I'm happy to dive into that, whether it's a psychic reading or you want me to drill down on something related to a personal issue So I'm going to do that as well. And then about, let's see, we're at 12:14, probably around 12:25, I'm going to give away something, and I'll do a 30-minute reading. So yeah, I'm going to give away a 30-minute reading. Oh, one more announcement. This Saturday, I'm starting an 8-week course. It's free. It's Magnetism to Manifestation, and it's really about mastering the law of attraction. And attraction is sort of a false word because we're receivers. We're not go-getters or make it happen. We're how do I make it possible to receive, and in that, setting intention. But it's a free course because I'm going to be offering that in 2021 in a self-guided course. And so yeah, all you have to do is sign a waiver because your voice or your image may appear, and I need to be able to utilize that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about September and the energies that are happening. Well, first of all, we have to backtrack a little bit because August was a robust energy month. This was the most powerful energy month I think we're going to experience all year. I often refer to it like a ping pong ball. It's like back and forth, good, bad, hard, easy. It was a mixed bag, but the energy kept just plowing through our lives. So we're bringing some of that energy into September, up to the first 9 days, but it's not nearly as robust. But the first, we have some interesting aspects, again, astrological, but it's energetic to me as well. And it's a really good time this first week of September to continue on with projects, with planning things, with whether it's relationship or career efforts. And some people, because we're on a full moon pattern right now, it's a good time for monies out of the blue. I mean, certain earth signs and certain mostly earth signs, but some air signs are also focused on money, and money could come in. But this week, this first week of September, should be good for most people. Now, as we get into the middle of September, things seem to slow down and the energy becomes thicker. Now, when I relate to life thick because I relate to everything energetically. How does it feel? Is the on the spectrum? Is it moving quickly? Is it moving slowly? Is there density or is there space in the vibrations? And just taking off on that note momentarily from the forecast, this is one of the things in 2020 and moving forward, our ability to notice our energetic frequency. I think most of us are familiar with identifying our emotions. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm mad, but then there's always a corresponding frequency that goes with that. And if you understand that in the context of formula, that there are energetic formulas where we have a recipe in our life, if we're putting some thick frequencies in our soup and then some thin frequencies and some high vibration frequencies, then you're creating a life that has a certain quality to it. And as we become more aware of frequencies, and by paying attention to how we feel, of course, we can change them on purpose. We can change them intentionally. So this is what 2020 is about. But I just wanted to put that out there. The frequency discussion is one I'll talk about often because it's critical not only to the law of attraction, but it's critical to how we receive and how we interact with life and having life be more benevolent. And, a lot of us do a lot of trying energy. I'm trying so hard. I'm such a good person. I'm trying so hard. But in the background, we have a lot of, I don't deserve. I'm a piece of crap. I don't really, I don't know that it can really happen. So there's a lot of disbelief that the things can happen. And when those energies are running in our backstory, we can't receive. Okay, so back to the forecast. So as we get to mid-month, we're looking at some complexities in the energy. It's thicker and it's a little more complicated. So it's not the best time of the month to really launch new projects and things of that nature. And then we're going to see that pattern in terms of more complexity into August or October. And a lot of October feels thick. And it doesn't mean that you can't do new things. It really just means that you want to attend to the things you have and take adequate time and thoughtfulness to move things around that you want to move, really massage things. There's some interesting aspects at the end of the month and some interesting energy. So September is a little bit of a mixed bag of residue of August really pushing through energy. And then we're sort of getting used to the cycle changing here in September. And then October feels a little bit denser. But overall, this is a good month for people who've been striving towards a lot of projects, whether it's finding love, finding career. I think for most people, you're going to see things happen these first 10 days of September. So I hope that's helpful to you in some way. Let's see. I'm halfway through Angie's in the chat room saying I'm halfway through a hypnotherapy course. Do you see a path I can utilize this with when I finish, hopefully around November? And then she says, I'm still thinking about matchmaking, but a matchmaking festival. Angie is someone who I was working with, gosh, it's been years, but she's kind of a natural matchmaker, and she had thought about doing a business like that. Let me look at that. And by the way, I'm going to, if you want to call me in a few minutes, I'll put my number in the chat and I'll say it out loud, and you can give a call and I'll take a call live. Okay, let's look at that hypnotherapy course. Well, first of all, okay. Well, first of all, you are a natural for any service work. I mean, truly, you are a natural for being with people and supporting them. So for me, it's really, do you like it, and do you have a pathway? By the way, are you specializing in a certain area? Are you doing past life regression, smoking cessation? Is there some area you're going into that, because I think with any new business, especially, it's important you have a direction. And I think this actually answers the question, because I think you've struggled with some self-doubt or confidence around really putting yourself out there, which is a common theme of many healer types. What do I know? How do I know it? Am I good enough? All that stuff, garden variety stuff. So I like that you have this new certification, and I think you will finish by the second week of November, if not before. And I think you can be successful so long as you define it for yourself and really allow yourself to have that authority position. None of us are perfect, and I will put myself in that category. I'm a brand new YouTube show, first day. There's a lot of adjustments and modifications I want to make, different things I want to do, but I'm not going to stop putting myself out there because I don't have everything in line that I want to have in line, right? And so I think it's just important that you begin and you let the profession call you in, and so often, even with me, like I said at the beginning, I'm not I didn't, when I was a little girl, say, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a psychic. No, this profession really called to me because, pardon me, I kept having things happen. They wouldn't stop happening, and it got to be a little annoying and, quite frankly, frightening. and I needed to get a handle on it. And so and no matter how hard I tried to get away from it over the course of my life, I couldn't. I couldn't shut it down if I want to. So I think the same as you. If you feel a calling, answer it. Go in the direction you're allowing, you're hearing. And because you've done we did matchmaking coaching, and I know you've done some other soul searching out there in the world, I would say, this is right for you. Go lean into it and see where it takes you. I hear you, Phyllis, on the self-doubt. Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of us. Oh, helping. Angie's talking about what she wants to do with the hypnotherapy, and she's saying helping women work through crisis. Oh, bless your heart. Mwah, mwah. Thank you. that's such a fantastic service. Thank you. And hi, Barry, you just joined the chat area. If one of you can continue to ask questions in the chat. I'm still kind of learning my way through some of the technical features, but if you'd like to give a call, I will take your call live if you want to talk to me rather than type. And I'm going to put the number here and say it. The number is 360-334-1100. That's 360-334-1100. And I'll bring you live on here if you actually want to have a question answered on the air here. I'm not doing this exactly like the radio show. It's really more of a sharing and just being with you. I don't really want to perform or, meet a certain rhythm, or I don't want it to be that. It's really just a place for us to be together. Great. Okay, so while I'm waiting for, I guess now would be a good time. If you would like to get a copy of my book, The Energy of Abundance, and if for some reason you don't have it, go ahead and email me at phyllis@phyllisking.com. Phyllis@phyllisking.com. I'm just going to put it in the chat room. And anyone who the first two people who email me are going to get a hard copy sent to them in the mail. And anyone who emails me anyhow, I'll send you the PDF. But the first two, and I'll do it by timestamp, who does it first come, first serve, you'll get one in the mail. All right. And the Energy of Abundance, it's about, I think it's 12 chapters. I guess I should look at it again. It's been a while. But it really talks about the main areas of life we all deal with in terms of money, love, finances. Well, finances is money, parenting, death, life and death, surrender. It's like, really, how do you put the tools in place so you can do the things I'm talking to you about? How do you, when you're all verklempt and you find your vibration is rough and you're angry or whatever it is, how do you get out of that? And so that's one of the pieces in the book as well. So good. And hello to everybody joining. And hi, David. Okay, let me, great. And it's funny, people are emailing me. It's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. So, any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat room. And the number, if you want to call live, let me make sure. I just realized I'd silenced my phone because my kids call me constantly when I'm in session. And in these days of Zoom, everything comes across the screen. So let's talk about 2020 COVID. I don't want to talk about COVID. We're in the era of infectious diseases. That's going to be, every few years is going to be something. Maybe the time span will be shorter in between. I think Corona has given us just a beautiful opportunity to shift into a new awareness. I can tell you my awareness definitely shifted in how I'm seeing the world, and it really helped me up level my game in terms of my interaction to life. But because we're moving into this era of moving away from external and really getting it that we are one, and anything that causes us to be divisive or to feel like because you are a political party of a certain sort, I can't associate with you. I was watching something on TikTok. Any of you who follow, I love TikTok. Why I love TikTok is because it's an everyday person's app. Not that there aren't some celebrities on there now and again, but it's just folks getting on there, sharing their experience in a certain way. But a guy got on there yesterday and said, I connected with a guy I was served in the military with some time ago, and he was a Trump supporter. And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. I can no longer be friends with you. That broke my heart. That really broke my heart. Because you're denying the entire person because they have an affinity for a certain something. Now, do I have certain beliefs that align with certain causes? Absolutely. But the cause to me is not bigger than the person. So, when I see how we are dividing ourselves and saying, well, this thing over here is more important than that. And you may disagree with me. You may have a point of view that's different. But I think it's really important that we understand that culture at large wants to divide us. The people who are in control want to divide us. That if we're fighting with each other, we can't come together and dispute the people who are in power, making the rules and laws that we don't agree with. So I just think there's a lot of opportunities for us to see how we buy into divisiveness. My own mother, who passed in January, happened to be a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for him, but she was the most beautiful woman. And did she have some beliefs and ideas that I thought were not correct or I didn't like them? Yeah. But, she was still a beautiful person and a lovely, lovely, loving human being. And so if we only focus on that one piece, so anyhow, getting away from the political discussion on this, 2020 is really showing us that if we stay in the old patterns of I'm separating, you have to believe this way or we can't be together. How are we ever supposed to be on this planet, let alone go out into the solar system and explore alien life and become part of the greater, if you can't even coexist with people on the planet? And of course, this is a mature soul planet, not an old soul planet. So it's designed to have people at, down here. There's people who are in kindergarten. There are people who are in middle school energetically, people high school, college, graduate school, you name it. There are levels in our culture. And those who are able to maintain high vibration, despite, if you're in college or high school and you have a kindergartner throwing a tantrum, your ability to not be reactive to that it's really a service to the planet, and it's a service to that individual. It's a service to the collective. And so the more we can recognize that our own reaction to life has an impact on the greater good, the better for all of us. So at this point in my life, in my career, I am not focused on the external reality. And any of you who have watched my most recent videos, I don't watch the news anymore. I am not interested. There is nothing on the news that has value to me. There's no information that I need, unless it's the weather, or, I happen to live outside of Portland, Oregon, which is a hot zone for protests and Black Lives Matters and all of that. And there was recent deaths, and there's been something new about state police officers being deputized to be federal officers so they can move around the whole town, or was it? Yeah. So they have facility to go throughout the town and stop riots and things like that. That's a little bit of useful information, except because there's so much rioting, I'm not going into Portland. Well, I actually am today to pick something up, but I'm not going to the riot zones. But the overall message to me is I'm not attending to external realities and truths. My only guidance is from higher wisdom and being in right relationship to higher wisdom. That's what I do all day, every day. And I think because I've taken that leap, suddenly finances are a non-issue in my life. That doesn't mean I don't need money. It doesn't mean I don't have bills to pay. It means that money just keeps coming in my life. It's not something I have to think about or that I would ever worry about. Never. It just wouldn't do that. And I think anyone who takes that leap to separate from external noise and only listen to higher wisdom as the dominant authority, you become a leader in culture and in the world, and you will find that your financial situation does the same thing, because this is an elevation that is happening across the board. It's not just in my life. It's available to all people who are taking that step. Um, is that making sense to you? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I know I'm kind of going on. I can talk nonstop forever, so that's why I do that. Okay, let's see. Oh, Angie again. Okay. Well, you're asking two questions. Thank you. Any idea who our next president will be? Yes, I will. I'll say that in a moment. And what is happening astrologically when you say we're moving into the age of Aquarius? Well, let's just say in the Piscean age, we became aware of energy. We became aware of our relationship to consciousness itself. We had an awareness. We woke up. All right. And so we understand there's a correlation. In the Aquarian age, humanitarianism means we actually start to treat each other better. We actually learn how to be there for each other. We actually learn how to, not buy into divisiveness. Now, we've got a long ways to go, but that's why I'm saying something like Black Lives Matters. I mean, it's the perfect entry point. Racial injustice, inequality, things of this nature. It's like, criminal injustice, legal injustice, all of it, it's front and center. We're already getting exercised to look at it and see how can we make that better? How do we change it? So that we can be together and we aren't harming each other. So that's to me what the age of Aquarius is about. And it's a 60-year cycle we're in. So we're at the infancy of it. But if you're able to recognize the value, I mean, yes, suffering, no one wants to see suffering. I despise seeing people suffer, but you can't focus just on the suffering. You also want to focus on what the bigger picture is and contribute to the bigger picture. So like, for instance, I'm not going to go downtown to Portland and at this point in my life, I'm not going to go protest for Black Lives Matter, even though I support the movement. I don't want to put myself in harm's way. I'm a parent. My kids need me. Maybe when my kids are out of the house, I might be more aligned to go protest, but I can certainly hold space for what's actually happening on a higher level. We're heading towards humanitarianism. So I continue to talk about the peril of divisive thinking and separating ourselves from other based upon external man-made ideology and continuing to go to higher wisdom. Okay, so last October, wrote my predictions for 2020. I predicted that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would be a pair. I think I did say Stephanie Abrams may be the running mate, but he did go with Kamala Harris. So I feel pretty good about my prediction for November. I don't believe President Trump will be reelected. Energy is still fluid. And we do have to understand that President Trump is a strong person, not a moral or ethical person. But one of the things, one of his best, I'm trying to think of the right word, it's not a best trait, but one of the traits he has that makes him so skilled and so able to be where he is in life is that he does not give a holy crap about what anyone thinks. And anyone who is successful in life in any form, you cannot concern yourself with what other people think. Now, whether or not you agree with his policies or, I certainly don't agree with behaviors that he does and lying and cheating. That's an ethical, moral piece. But he listens to his own wisdom. He listens to his own compass. His compass tells him a certain thing. But that is a very powerful skill to have. And if any of you out there, you're trying to start a business or want to put yourself out there as a healer or a speaker expert of any kind, you will notice that you always come up with your self-doubt or what will people think? And even me. It took me many years to say, okay, I'm going to put myself out in the world as a psychic and take whatever flack comes to me. So a person who has the ability to say what you want, I'm doing whatever. I really don't care what people think. I'm doing me. So he has a PowerPoint that everyone should respect. And I mean respect in terms of what he's able to do and create. But I think the energy, it's going to be a close race. I would say, I think it'll be something like 49 to 45. I mean, 40, it's not going to be tight. Like, I don't think they'll need recounts, but it'll be close. But right now, the energy still says Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So that's my prediction. And I feel good about it since it hasn't changed since October of last year, November. Monique, oh, hi, Monique. Hello, hello. So reading Mom Suffering from Many, oh, by the way, if you want the free 30-minute reading, I'm going to tell you how to get it. I've been talking through the hour about the importance of moving away from divisive. We're on separate sides. Even if you have separate ideologies, you don't have to be on separate sides. And I've been talking about that concept and how it relates to moving into the age of Aquarius and how it relates to elevating yourself in this new reality and why it's important. So if you want the free reading, email me, Phyllis@phyllisking.com, and talk to me about this new era we're in and what you're doing to exclude yourself from divisive thinking. And the answer that I like the most, I'm going to give the free reading to. I don't have a team of people, an army of producers who can sift through. Okay. So Monique says, reading, my mom is suffering from many physical pains and discomfort in her neck and shoulder, especially stomach cramps. Can you see what's going on and direct us to where to find a solution? Oh, Monique, what is your mom's first name? Let me grab her energy. And Stephen P, hi, Stephen. My mother is suffering from pain in neck and shoulders as well. Yes, and I know your mom's name. Oh, your mom, you know, she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. And she also, how do I say it? She doesn't always speak her truth. And, you know, and I think there's a lot of energy in the household and a lot of different things going on. But mainly she's got to really start putting herself first. And she needs to speak up more. And she's always the peacemaker, always trying. So, yeah, I don't know if you're asking on behalf of her, but it's a way of being that she is in her life that is both beautiful, but also on the flip side, sometimes it takes too much from her. She gives too much, it takes too much from her. So, so Monique's mom, back to the questions here. Sabina. So Sabina is having physical pain, neck, shoulder, stomach cramps. Okay, let me grab her energy, Sabina. Let's see. Okay, there she is. Let's look at her system. Well, she's got more than one thing going on, first of all. Let's see, Sabina. You know, there's definitely something going on in the gut. I'm trying to put a name to it. She's either developed a tumor, and I don't want to scare you, but I feel like there's a mass in there. There's a couple different things. It's either a mass that, as things are going, as you know, food is digesting and going over this mass, it is stimulating this tumor. And when I say tumor, I don't mean that it doesn't have to be cancerous, but there's definitely something there. And it goes across this mass, and I'm feeling the system reject. And I don't know if there's an enzyme issue as well, but the whole stomach area is inflamed. And does she have colitis? Does she have there's something going on, and I would assume something of this nature would have already been diagnosed, and it's something that's chronic that she's managed over time. If not, she needs to get herself to a gastrointestinal person and find out. Oh, diverticulitis. Thank you. Okay, so she already has that going on. So she needs another treatment. She needs something. And sometimes people, I believe it's diverticulitis, they have to have a procedure. And I don't know if they take part of the intestine. I don't really know. But there's something from the stomach, and the acids are really heightened. The whole stomach area is inflamed. So sounds like you have a pathway to go down, but I think she's going to need some form of treatment. I don't unless the way she's been treating it so far has just been to change her diet and things like that. Yeah, I'm not. I refer to other people who know what they're doing. So, Angie, I've always admired your authenticity. Well, I think it's important. You know, life is hard. It's so important, I think, that we show up as we are, and I want to show my strengths as well as my flaws so that you guys will feel empowered to do the same. I think we go around the world always trying to make it shiny. You know, that's one of the things too, like my YouTube channel here, I want to make it sparkle, and I need to get myself a little producer to help me and all that. But I don't mind starting basic and improving is where I go, you know, just letting it be a process. It's all good. Thank you for the directions, says, oh no, from Monique. Oh, Dawn. Hello, Dawn. Welcome. So Dawn, a longtime client friend, here she says, when I had my reading with you before, we talked about my health issues, and I haven't been able to get answers still. Can you see anything to help me figure it out, or where to go to get answers? You know, well, why don't you type me up where you've been, what, you know, your symptoms again, or your basic symptom, and just what you've done so far. Yeah. By the way, we have a couple minutes left. I'm going to be live here for a few more minutes. If you want to be bold and call me, you can call my number and I'll pick up, and we'll do it on the speakerphone. It's 360-334-1100. If you're not in the chat room, it's 360-334-1100. And I'll talk to you. And because sometimes the back and forth gets a little laborious. So for me, if I'm not getting answers to what I need, I go outside of normal channels. Oh, here she goes. Back pain, upper right abdominal pain, shortness of breath sometimes. And so have you been to traditional doctors? And I mean, who have you visited? Just tell me that in 1 or 2 words. But I know a lot of people who get ideas and relief from naturopathic doctors. You know, I suffered from migraines last 5-6 years. I haven't gone through menopause yet, but it's been banging on my door. And when my hormonal changes came about, they would just give me the most incredible, debilitating migraines of my life. And so I go to my gynecologist, I go to my, you know, my regular practitioner, do this, do that. It really didn't work. But then I sought out a naturopath who was an expert in women's health. And she does all this work on studying clinical studies, not just a feeling or an idea, but there's actually proof behind it that there's certain herbs and certain vitamins that she says, take magnesium, take B12, take fish oil, take vitamin D, take B complex. And I started front loading on all those supplements, and it dramatically reduced my symptomology. So the point was, I looked outside of the box. I'm just like, I don't really care where the information comes from. What I'm being told isn't going to work. So I'm just saying it naturopathic. Let's see. So Dawn is telling me she saw a primary cardiologist and a pulmonologist, and they're still not getting to it. So I would do 2 things if it were me, and I will look at it psychically too. I keep getting functional medicine for you. these can be a little more expensive, but usually you go to a functional medicine person and they do a whole battery of tests that the natural people or the regular folks won't do for all the reasons, insurance and all that. It's usually about $700 to $1,000 to get a full panel done with a functional medicine person. But then they really get a full view of every chemical thing that's happening in your body, and you might get some information that way, or visit a naturopath, or just get another referral to a pulmonologist. I am getting a lot in the lung area, so there's more. You go to 5 different doctors. At least 3 of them should say something close to the same thing. So, but I am getting pulmonology and I am getting functional medicine. So, and I know as soon as I said $700 to $1,000, you kind of wanted to strangle me and you threw yourself on the floor. You're like, oh my God, hell no. But you know what? You're worth it. And I think this is back to the abundance discussion, by the way. We are not expendable in the equation of life, and women, especially moms, so often you're last in line and you think, I can't afford it, I shouldn't spend it. And then your kid comes forward and they need something for $1,500 and you just shell it right out. How can I make that happen? But with ourselves, it's like, oh, no. My socks don't have holes in them yet. I don't need this. Anyhow, so really think about it. Think about giving to yourself, Dawn, whatever it takes. Okay, trying to call that number, but it's going to voicemail. Did I put the right number in there? 360-334-1100? Because my phone is right. Oh, you know what? I'm giving you the wrong number. I'm looking at the phone that I'm going to pick up, and it's the wrong number. I don't have my business phone with me, so I'll give you my other phone that I take my client calls on. 510-612-2917. 510-612-2917. Okay, and Stephen is asking me, do you see an end in sight for all these wildfires? Oh, I know California is being hit hard again. Unfortunately, well, yes, and yes. It's going to take about 4 to 5 weeks for this particular pattern to die down. And it's wildfire season. I mean, this. I mean, it's not helpful, but in the Bay Area, between October and mid-November, it's just, it's brutal. So this is not going to go the way it did a year ago or 2 years ago. I've lost track. But I would say you will see a lot of progress by the end of, let's say we got our call, by the end of September. Hello.
Phyllis.
Okay, is this Angie?
Yes, hello.
Okay. Well, we're all listening, so.
Okay, actually, my last question, I wonder if maybe other people are in the same boat, but there's a lot, actually, that I'd love to be able to talk with you about. I'm just wondering which avenue, because you give readings, you're amazing at that. We've had a couple of those when I lived in the Bay Area near you. And then you have your courses, you've got books. Like how, I guess for me and maybe anybody else listening, how do we know which avenue to go?
Well, it really depends on what's going on in your life. So if, most of the time people get and by the way, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. But if you are feeling stuck in your life or you have some burning questions, that's a good time to get a reading. Or if there's something you're worried about in your life, whether it's a relationship or your job or whatever, and you kind of just need to have a sense, is it going to be all right, or what's going to happen, or what can I expect? That's a really good time for a reading. Now, if it's something where you want to work on it and say, like, if it's a relationship or money issue or trying to get a job and you're like, I want to work through that, then coaching is a way to go, because I still use my intuitive skill set, but we're working with your own your own limiting beliefs and such. Like I talked at the beginning about how we let so many possibilities go by because of our fears and self-doubt. So, if you really want to work towards something, that's when coaching is a good one. And that's whether it's love life, money problems, purpose, career, whatever. And then my other program, like Intuitive Life Coaching Certification, that's if you want to create a business as a practitioner, right? Whether you want to be a coach or a matchmaker or whatever. And because my intuitive coaching certification does both teach you how to do a practitioner in a proper format, if you will, but it's also business building. I do both in that course. And most healers have really a lot of trouble in business. And then like the course that's happening this weekend, that's all about how to create wealth, how to create money, how to make that happen. So, it's really based upon what your needs are in the moment.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. I'm going through the hypnotherapy specifically because I've been working with adults right now with what I do for a living. I help them get through, learn crisis management. And I thought, God, I wish I would have learned this when I was going through my divorce, over 10 years ago. And then when I signed up for the hypnotherapy, definitely wanting to help women get through that. But I was meditating and very deeply, and then I got a vision on how to help people find the right mate, how to focus, apply suggestions of, this is who you're looking for, this is who you're not. I don't know. It was literally, I swear to you, Phyllis, the matchmaking stuff just started cropping back up. Wow,
I love that. I love that. Well, and people need that. People want love, and some people it happens easily, and other people you stumble over yourself.
Well, I think I'll start with a reading. I will never forget that when I was in the Bay Area and I was given the option to take a severance package or to take a lesser position, and you totally saw I was getting the other job. I took the severance and I got it. I got the better paying job, and I've always trusted. I will tune in whenever you're on, and I'll read your tidbits when I catch them on Facebook and what have you. Or are you on Instagram? I'm sorry, I get all my little flashes, but I just so appreciate you. And then even when you were coming on to do the reading, I couldn't call in earlier because I was driving and I had some kids with me, but I could feel you tune in. There was this bright light all of a sudden in my eye. It was like, oh, Phyllis, you are an angel. I love you. I'm so glad you're
thank you. Here. Thank you for all that love. I appreciate it. And I would love to share a space with you anytime.
Okay, wonderful.
All right,
Angie.
Well,
I'll look you up and schedule a reading, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Of course, I appreciate the call. Well, that was fun. See, it's always fun to talk voice to voice. So, we're coming to the end. Please email the first two who it's time-stamped will get the book, a hard copy of the book to your home. And then I just wanted to be in the running for the 30-minute free reading, really talk about my message today about moving into the new reality and listening to higher wisdom and stepping away from divisiveness and what that means to you and the message you took away from me. So as I said before, this show is going to, I don't want to call it a show, it's a sharing, but it's going to evolve, and I'm working on a set actually, which will take a little bit longer to create. And I plan on having other people here to share their wisdom and experience. But I always like to interact with folks and do readings and things like that and share message. I hope you've enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody who showed up today. And it's just great to be together. And now that we're all in lockdown, this is the way we do it. So everybody have a great weekend. But the first 10 days of this month are so juicy. This is really manifestation moments at their finest. So I can't wait to hear stories about that. Get as much done before the middle of the month as you can, and take care. I'll be back next Wednesday. And of course, if you're on my newsletter, you will hear about it. Okay. Take care. Love you. Sending you love. Be well and safe. Yes. Bye.